Welcome to our podcast. It's live on LinkedIn, and we'd love to have you join us and have an incredible conversation with myself and Debbie, Aziza, and a cast of thousands, of which probably about 20 to 30 will turn up. The subject today is how to overcome incredible odds and create unstoppable success. And for anybody who's had a difficult year or years, especially post-pandemic, then you'll probably be wondering, when does it all end and when does it start getting easier? And hopefully we'll be able to shed some light on that, and also how to speed up the process. That and more coming up in this podcast. Do not go away. And we are recording live. We will be sharing the results with you on YouTube. So don't be surprised, and be prepared to grab a cup of coffee, a few biscuits, and write down some notes as we come to you next on Speak on Stage. Anyway, Debs, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for asking. And how are you, Dave?
I'm raring to go, very excited. We've got a lot to cover today, and I'm always fascinated by the fact that whenever I plan these sessions, as soon as we start going down the subject of what it is that we're going to cover, it just pivots completely into something else. In fact, if I was to go through old episodes of our sessions, they'd all be about paranoia relating to the Terminator movie. AI is going to get us. How do you stop it moving? But it's more like a soap opera.
I would say that it normally ends up on being personal development and mindset.
Okay, with a little bit of a Terminator's going to kill us thrown in for good measure. Hello to Salman and Joe for joining us, and it's good to have you here. We'll get a chance to have a chat with you a little bit later if you stick around long enough to be part of this conversation. Today is about how to overcome incredible odds and create unstoppable success. And there's a lot to cover in today's session, and we look forward to going over some bits and pieces and also finding out what everybody's personal view is. When I talk about the fact we always end up talking about the Terminator, that is a little bit flippant. We do talk about the importance of AI, not least because I think AI is really at the heart of how you'd be able to overcome challenges. Not least because the way that I tend to do it is I tend to let off steam chatting to my virtual assistant, which is an AI thing, which is Jack, which I've mentioned many times before. And when I talk to Jack, I end up getting some great solutions. But what I can't do, and this is what some people say, oh no, you should do. What I don't do is I don't perceive Jack as a human being, just as a sounding board that can talk back to me. Like in the old days before you had AI, you'd go on Google and you'd see what else is being done on the market. You'd have a look at what is for offer, and then maybe connect with people. Well, this fills the middleman of being able to give you some information and even speak it back to you. It's not a perfect solution, but sometimes it's a lot more effective. And if you've ever tried talking to somebody from a bank, no offense to anybody if they work at a bank, but you may well have experienced that. We're joined by the lovely Aziza Crane, not just my wife, but my boss, and I'm really scared of her. So Aziza, how are you today? Yeah, you go. The silence doesn't help either. That freaks me out even worse. Aziza, how are you? She's not in a good mood. Are you there? She's just staring. Okay, here's what we're going to do as she works out how to press unmute, or she stares at me like Paddington. I can talk about Paddington now. Everybody knows it's a worldwide brand. What we'd like to do for everybody is we want to get as many people as we can into this broadcast before we get stuck into the actual nuts and bolts of the topic. Can everybody share that they're on this broadcast? Now, the way you do it is you go to the post where you found us, and it's got a share button, and it just says share to feed or post to feed. If you don't mind doing that, it gives you a pre-made message saying, I'm now on this podcast, would you like to come and join us? Or I'm now on this broadcast. And hopefully from that, we'll end up with a lot of people coming to join us, and maybe get an even more fascinating conversation. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be things that have a lot of participants in it to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, it becomes a monologue. And as you probably realize by now, after 3 minutes of talking almost non-stop, I have no issue with talking almost non-stop. But it's not about me. It's about us and brainstorming what we need to do together. Hello to Joanne joining us as well, and Guy too. So if you don't mind pressing the share button to send it out across the LinkedIniverse and getting everybody who could be interested, who's related to you, to come and join us as we open up today's subject of working out what it is that you need to do to overcome insurmountable odds. I brought this subject to everybody because first of all, I like to brainstorm it with Debbie and Aziza, but also when we finish a broadcast, I look at what the biggest challenges tend to be, sometimes looking at my own and sometimes looking at other people's. Now, when it comes around to the summer, depending on the industry that you're in, if you're in a normal job where you get paid normal money every single month, then it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It's just the summer is nice. But if you're working in a supply industry, as we are, where you're supplying training, supplying speaking, supplying hosting, it's very seasonal. And so sometimes you look at it and you go, right, what are we going to do when it goes quiet? And what do we do to be able to break that chain? And I realized that as I was thinking about that, I've been watching the Olympics. And if you've been training so hard to become an Olympic champion and you don't get it, what do you do to reinvent yourself? It's like a footballer. You only get a limited amount of time to be able to position yourself as the best of what you can be. And sometimes you get injuries, sometimes you fall over, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes they cancel. How do you use it to be able to reinvent yourself properly? I've been watching a documentary all about Ryan Reynolds. And I'll share this with you as we open up the floor to conversations, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So Ryan Reynolds is a billionaire, just in case you didn't know, and his billions weren't made from making the movies. His billions were made from making smart decisions, where what he decided to do was after he was one of the few actors to be in 4 superhero style movies, and they all bombed terribly, so nobody wanted to give him any money. And so he wanted to make the Deadpool movie, which was the thing that he just had in his heart, because Deadpool as a comic talks about Ryan Reynolds, so it seemed like a perfect match. But nobody wanted to give him money. In the end, through bullying, he managed to get Fox, who owned the property, to do a teaser for what Deadpool would look like. So they spent a little bit of money to make a music-style video all about what Deadpool would be like. They looked at it and they said it's not going to work, and they left it there, basically shutting Ryan up and stopping him complaining. He'd been pitching for about 7 years to be able to get this. What Ryan did was he got hold of a footage, this little snippet. I think if you've seen the movie, the first Deadpool one, it's the one where he jumps off the bridge and falls into the car and fights everybody. And he's drawn a picture of all the people he wants to get inside the car. It was only about 2 minutes worth of action. He leaked it onto YouTube. All the fans went bonkers, loved it. Fox had no choice but to greenlight it and work with it. And then they gave a paltry sum. Now, bearing in mind that a big superhero movie normally needs about $250 million to do it. They gave him $58 million, which is a lot of money, but the problem is there's no money for marketing, no money for special effects. That's basically for your production value. So what he had to do was realize that if that's all the money he's going to get, maybe what we have to do is really focus on the story, on the comedy, on the bits that happen between the special effects, because his Green Lantern movie, which was rubbish, was just all special effects and no story, and really get clever about the marketing. So what he did with his marketing was every single night, or most nights, when he'd finished a filming, he'd get his phone or he'd get a small team and they'd go and film something in costume that was very tongue-in-cheek, making Ryan Reynolds the star of it, obviously because he was, and leak it onto LinkedIn and leak it onto YouTube and put it onto Instagram. So he started building up a massive following of people who just loved the cheeky stories that were clearly happening inside the filming. So by the time it came round to actually being a proper movie, he'd already built up a massive fan base and anticipation for the things that he was doing, and he was doing stuff that was aside from the actual movie itself. And then, of course, the rest is true, that he became very successful, and the movie did well to the point of having 3 movies, which is just the last one, Deadpool and Wolverine, has crossed over $1 billion worth of revenue. But he then said, right, if I know these principles of how to recreate and reinvent, why don't I do it in business? So he then went on to Aviation Gin, and he went on after that to work with Mint Mobile, I think it was, and then he went on to take over Wrexham Football Club, which was a very bad football team in Wales that he reinvented, he put stuff into. Why were they all successful when he started doing these little videos and doing the same way of marketing it? Not only because of his funny, self-depreciating humor, but also because of the fact that they all looked after people. Most people who are big stars like Ryan Reynolds will only assign themselves to big brands that everyone aspires to. What he did was a reverse. He bought into companies that were cheap and most people would want to use. And he knew that they had a community that really needed to look after that. And that's how he built up these things. And I think he's actually a double billionaire or something like that. So that's a story I wanted to share with you because I find it very inspirational. I'm a huge Ryan Reynolds fan, going back to when he was in a TV show called Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Shop, I think it was, going back about 20, 30 years. So he's been around for a while. So with that being said, I'm going to throw the floor open to everybody to share any thoughts that they want. And a pizza place, there we go. So we've got 6 people in the group, which is nice to see, and hopefully more to join us too. Debbie and Aziza, you're first on stage. Your thoughts on the subject of how to basically overcome incredible odds. We've all been through it in our lives, but I'd love to see what the insights are that you'd like to share with us.
I'm sure for those that have heard me, I'm always predictable in the fact that I think with any situation where it gets to be incredibly challenging, it's time to sit down, reevaluate, revise what your vision is, and just don't give up. Giving up is not part and parcel. You can change your strategy, you can go about things in a different manner, but learn from our mistakes would be where I pretty much come from.
I'm going to challenge you on that. What do you call giving up?
As in, don't kind of feel that you've hit that brick wall and that means that's it. You should just throw away the concept, throw away the idea, and start something completely different. It could be that you're onto something because you were passionate enough to start that journey. It's just about reevaluating how it should be applied.
I agree with you, but I think that it's also important to sometimes be capable of turning around and saying, this isn't working, let's dump that, let's see what we can do, take a few lessons from it, and see where we need to be. Now, that is not what you were sharing there, because I think one of the biggest challenges that we all have is we all want something to happen, and we think if we just throw lots of enthusiasm at it, that's why people are so obsessed with data, because they can work out what works and what doesn't work.
No. So I wouldn't say keep flogging a dead horse. No, mm-hmm. I would just say reevaluate what your vision is. It can change completely, but don't give up and think, you know what, I'm a failure. I wasn't successful in this and I should just stop. You can change the concept. You can change the idea. You can change what your path is, but don't feel within yourself that it reflects badly on you.
Yeah, I think it's important to not beat yourself up about it. That's very important. I'm going to throw something in on this, and I'm looking forward to hearing Aziza's, I know she's busy doing stuff as well, thought on that. And also, by the way, if you'd like to join us on stage, feel free to put your hand up and we'll get you on to have a chat about it. Usual rules apply. Don't spend another 5 minutes telling us about your life and everything. Just get straight to the point, and then we can brainstorm and spend more time being able to work out what everybody does together. I think that when it comes to working out your unsurmountable odds and success, there's 3 things that I would throw at it. There's actually 4, which is called an ikigai, but let's look at a hedgehog, which is the easiest way to do this. So there's a book called Good to Great, or there's one called Built to Last by Jim Collins, really smart business author. And he talks about 3 circles that come together as part of a Venn diagram. Let me describe what they are. I'll put it into the comment section on this particular broadcast as well. So first circle is what are you potentially the best in the world at doing? Second circle is what are you passionate about doing? And the third circle is what will people pay for you to do? So if you imagine that they all interlink, in the center, there is what is your hedgehog. Now, the hedgehog, I know it sounds weird. Many people don't know what the animal is. It's like a porcupine. It's basically a rodent with its spikes on the outside. That's not a particularly fierce or interesting creature, but what it does, nature's made it so powerful. When it curls up into a ball, its spikes are on the outside. So nothing can naturally get at it. No predators, badgers, foxes, any of that stuff. The only thing that can actually get it is traffic, because they tend to cross the road a lot. But that's it. So you need to work out what you have as your hedgehog concept. What do you love doing? What are you brilliant at doing? And what will people pay for? I think that's an important element to look at when you're creating unstoppable success. Are you leaning into your hedgehog, or are you leaning into wishful thinking? Because when you're doing the stuff that's your hedgehog, I hope this makes sense to everybody, it also means that you have a massive advantage over everybody else, because you are doing what you do and what you understand and what the world's interested in. So the odds of it being a success are more likely, because otherwise, if it's not working right now, it's probably not working because something went wrong, not because you're on the wrong track. Does that make sense to everybody? I talked a lot there. I shouldn't speak so much even on this podcast. Debbie, your thoughts, and Aziza, your thoughts, and then we'll throw it up to anybody else who wants to join us on the stage. Just put your hands up and we'll invite you up to speak.
So just to recap, you said, what will they, because I was trying to write notes, but what will they pay for?
What will people, first of all, what are you brilliant at doing? Secondly, what do you love to do? And thirdly, what will people pay for? Because sometimes there's stuff that we really love to do and we're really good at doing it, but nobody cares. In which case, that's not something you should really be working on to run a business around. You should do it because it's fun and you like it and so on. So somebody could be brilliant at going to the gym, for instance, and they're excellent at working out and being disciplined, but who's going to pay them to go to the gym? Well, maybe if they become an Olympic athlete, that's good. But most of the time, what they do is they just enjoy being fit, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's maybe not what you need to be able to do to run a business around. And we have to have business at the center of this conversation, because I think that makes it easier to understand. One thing I'll also say is everybody is different, and the idea that you base your success on other people and what they manage to achieve should never be a metric. Everybody's different. We're all born at different times, different places, different parents, different experiences with different skills and different genetics. None of us are the same, and none of us will get the same results as everybody else. So stop comparing. Just work out your own adventure, how you are now, how you were yesterday, and how you plan to be in the future. And so it's a one-person journey, even if you've got traveling partners. So I think sometimes one of the things that challenges us to think that we're rubbish at something is because we look at other people who've done better, but that's their adventure. And you never know what they've had to go through and sacrifice, or what special advantages they'd had to be able to get them to be where they need to be. Does that answer that? It's a bit long answer, really, Debbie.
No, that does. No, it makes brilliant sense. And I did actually listen to your interview this week, which was amazing, with the gentleman that survived 3 terrible situations.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, if anything, in all of those, all the things that he explained, they were completely different, as in life. And as you just explained, with people being completely different, you will undergo different challenges at different times. It's just how you then apply yourself well enough to be able to get over the hurdle, face the hurdle, and be successful at it.
So let's go through the bit that I've noted down in the about column, the details of today's broadcast. I'll go through it quickly because I don't like to spend too long on stuff here. I want to spend more time talking to people and working out how we can help them as part of our community. So 10 insights into success against impossible odds. First of all, you need to have mental toughness. So that's your greatest asset. Strengthen it, toughen up and deal with it better. Number 2, resilience, which is ultimately grit. Bouncing back stronger after every setback and using it to not avoid failure, but use it to grow out of the fact that things won't work out the way you want them to. You don't fail, you just got a result you didn't want. So move forward with results that you do want. Number 3 is adaptability. Things never go as planned. The successful people are always able to pivot and change depending on what was going on. And my example for this, and Aziza will be able to say this as well, and many of you might have the same example. Imagine being a full-time speaker for the best part of 25, 30 years, speaking all over the world, hosting events, teaching people to speak, and then a global pandemic comes along and nobody needs a speaker anymore for 2 years. How do you survive that? So that's my particular challenge, and the rest is history, really. So focus on what you can control is really important. And it seems that that's number 4. So in the heat of a moment, focus on what you can control, not what you can't. If you can't control it, let it go. It's not your problem. Number 6, stay calm in chaos. When everything's falling apart, your calmness sometimes is your biggest advantage. And certainly in my house, that seems to be a superpower sometimes. Sometimes it's not, though. That's bad. Number 7, trust yourself and others in times of crisis. You'd be surprised how many people are there for you. And sometimes you need to reach out and ask for help. Most people don't want to because they think it's a sign of weakness. It's not. Just reach out. It's amazing how many people come through for you in those times of crisis. Number 8, take action. Don't freeze when faced with fear. Take action, however small it might be. But what I will say as a slight caveat to that is sometimes taking action is freezing. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, just wait and take insights of what's going on around you. And then you work out not to jump in with 2 left feet and you get better results. Number 9, believe in the outcome. Believe that you will get the result that you want, whatever that is, and reflect on these experiences. And sometimes, even if it's not immediately clear, but you stick into a certain methodology and you know it works, stick to that. Like driving in fog. You know you're on the road, you haven't left the road, it seems to be going on forever, you got your lights on, you're going at a reasonable pace, your GPS says you're on the right road, stick with it. You've got the right idea. You will come out of the fog at some point. Oh, you probably hit the car in front. That's never good. Number 10, learn and grow. Every situation offers a lesson. Reflect on these experiences and use them to grow. So if you want to recap of these, they're actually in the about section on this post. So feel free to have a look at that and give your comments and your thoughts on that. Okay, throwing it open to the room. What are your thoughts on this today? If you want to share a challenge that you've had, then we'll happily contribute to sharing what we think would be useful for you. But more likely, just be really incredibly nosy people who have no right making any comment whatsoever. Who do we think we are? Because that's kind of what we do as well. So feel free to join in with that. Leave a comment in the comment section if you don't really want to jump on stage and speak, or if you prefer to come up and speak to us, then please do as well. You may notice, by the way, on today's post, I've got a scene of an Olympic athlete jumping over the hurdles and falling down. And I always try and make decent looking posts so people know that it's professional enough. But this one, you should have seen the ones I turned down that ChatGPT put together when it had some images. It had people who were stuck inside a hurdle, and he also had people whose limbs had fallen off. It was really gross. So this was the cleanest one I could say. It looks a bit weird, but that's what we're going to stick with. Salman, on stage. Nice to see you, sir. How are you? You need to unmute.
I am, yes, sir. I've been enough to know that. How are you doing? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
My pleasure. How can we help you?
Perfect. Nice statement to hear from someone. Khair. Great topic today, as well as the whole story of how Deadpool came into being. I did not know that, so that thank you for sharing. Pretty insightful. I wanted to share that recently I started a new role uh, and a new trajectory as well in life, which was I was doing LinkedIn optimization before, but recently I partnered with another company, which is a B2B enterprise company. They have a couple of products in the data industry, data warehousing and all that CS stuff. So it's sort of a transitional shift from selling from B2C to B2B now, which I was doing before. And this is sort of a challenge for me because I've been getting, inbound and through outreach clients for myself. But now that I'm in sort of an SDR role, it's really a different world where you get to do all that profiling, pipeline building, and then you do the outreach strategies and all. So what would your recommendations be in such a shift where I feel that sometimes there are some people in my existing network that I can help out with, but again, it is a high ticket client now.
Okay,
High ticket
can I just clarify some questions because it's quite a long point here. Are you trying to
yeah.
work out how to do better sales? Are you looking to get better at doing outreach? Are you looking to clarify whether you should be doing this job or not? What is it you want us to comment on?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I think that was the perfect order besides the last point because I was convinced I want to learn more about selling. That's why I joined this role. So, but it's about making it as effective as possible, how to do more sales for a
Okay,
higher ticket client.
Selling is the most best paid art on the planet. It's the best paid job on the planet, and it's not easy for most people to do it because you've got to have the ability to run a risk of things, of being able to ask for the product, and you've got to be fearless because it's a numbers game. Most people will say no a number of times before they say yes, but the figures show that most successful salespeople will go on to about 8 or 9 times being told no to the same person until it becomes a yes. And after each of the times, they come back with more reasons why the person should be working with them. And eventually, their persistence and expertise goes for a yes. Whereas the least successful salespeople do it about 3 or 4 times and give up on that particular client. There's a lot more to it than that. But I mean, what I would always say is success leaves clues. So I would find somebody who's excellent at doing this, and I would shadow them, and I'd work with them, and I'd ask them if you can get help from them, maybe get them to mentor you. Now, the problem about sales usually is it's commission based, in which case you don't have the funds to be able to hire somebody to teach you how to do the job properly. But if you're working under an organization that has people who benefit from you being successful at selling, get the best one to help you, because they will help you from the fact that they know, and they probably benefit from that happening. Does that help at all? I mean, if it doesn't feel right, then maybe it isn't right. Maybe you shouldn't be doing the job. But I don't think that you should stop yourself from the learning curve, regardless.
Can I put?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say, and my advice for sales is make it personal. Make it personal to you. Make it authentic. Understand the role. Understand how you can then pitch it, how you can sell it in a way that you're comfortable with. Because if you're just reading a script, it doesn't come across as authentic, and people won't be able to relate to you.
There you go, Salman. Does that help at all? I know that you've got a huge journey, and there's probably not a lot that we can come up with this. Tell you what I would do as well. I would go on to something like Udemy, udemy.com, as in the letter U. It's like universityacademy.com, udemy.com. And I would look at a course for how to sell whatever it is you're selling. It might be a data course of selling, or it might be whatever the product is. There'll be about 1,000 crash courses on how to sell, and they'll all be very affordable, maybe $9, $10, maximum $15. And look through the results, look through the people and their promo videos if they've got one, choose one and study it. And then go and get another one and another one until you become really fast at doing this. And the skills will be incredible. But at the same time, you'll know whether this is right for you or not. But even if you don't do it in this particular job, you'll have skills that will be transferable to other ones as well. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. I have been consuming a lot of content of, different B2B experts as well, like Ken Summers and all. So on the same, direction. And thanks for validating that.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us. So what I'm going to do before we go into Joanne, we're looking for a few more people in the room as well. If you just joined us, then welcome to today's podcast. We only go live for about an hour or so, so we've got about just over half an hour left. So if you'd like to just share that we're live on your LinkedIn, there's a button that says share. Just press that and it just posts to feed the fact that you're in this podcast, and hopefully we'll get some more people to join us in the audience, because I think it's a really interesting subject, and I'd love to know what people's thoughts are on it, because I think that your ability to go through life and be unstoppable is one of the skills they don't teach you at school, because they don't know how to do it at school. But it's one of the things that the School of Hard Knocks is a real difficulty for most people, but it doesn't have to be. It can be something that feeds you to want to get more out of life as a direct result. Joanne, welcome to the stage. Good to see you.
Good morning.
We haven't talked for ages.
I know. I've been abundant with things to do, Dave.
Wonderful. I'll tell you one thing before you make your comment. Having spent 3 weeks in the UK, it is so convenient to do a podcast at 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Oh my goodness, that's brilliant. It's so nice.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Dave, I'm loving this conversation. I've missed this platform. I haven't been here for a while. I've been in Australia for a few weeks, and then this conversation that you're having about being unstoppable is brilliant, because I've just been through grit and all that kind of stuff, and I can so relate to this conversation. Will I share what happened?
Yeah, go on.
So what Deb was saying and what yourself was saying, about how we look at things and overcoming resilience and fear and what have you. I created this event, and I had it last Sunday. It was a massive success.
I
And
saw that on LinkedIn. Congratulations. It looked amazing.
oh, it was amazing. It was an international event. I had speakers from all over the globe come to it. Now, I was scared shitless, to be honest with you, about doing it, right? Originally, when it was put to me. But I said, you know what, I'm able to do this. I can do this. I was able to visualize myself doing it, like what Deb was saying, be able to visualize it. And Napoleon Hill, I think, says, if you can visualize it, then it can be. But I talk about being out on the skinny branches and trusting in community. So I built up a lot of rapport with people. And I think that is your asset, is having the rapport with people, because people want to help you. It's our inner human nature to help each other. There's no competition anymore. It's all collaboration. I think that the energy of the earth is changing. We all want to collaborate and help each other, and especially the women. It's very inherent in the women. And women are very compassionate. Women have these brilliant traits that we need right now in the world. Men are amazing too, and they have their skills. But when we all work together, it's the synergistic effect of community and helping each other. But when I got out there on those skinny branches, I had to have trust and faith and have that visual image, like what Deb was talking about. And I could hook onto that and hang on to that and just keep believing. And I have plaques all over my house, wooden plaques, and I even brought them to my...
You've gone. You're all quiet. No.
Oh no, can you hear me?
We can again. Go
No.
on. Go back again. Go on.
Oh no. So yeah, I really, really, and I found myself on the stage, Dave, saying, just jump in and grow wings. I was like, where did I hear that from?
Yeah, where
wasn't
did that come
exactly
from?
your quote.
So what's your thoughts then? What's your answer to how this works? Clearly, reaching out to a community makes a big difference.
Build a
And when you
rapport
do
with
that, you've
people.
got people who support you. Would you say that's the secret formula?
It's a combination. So you got to have rapport with people. You have to build a community and have trust with people, because you can't succeed on your own. You need other people to help you, but you have to build that trust and faith and that rapport with other people as well, like really, really deep-hearted relationships and friends with people, because you want them to trust you. Because at the end of the day, we can only succeed when we all help each other, and it's that synergistic effect that's so powerful. But you got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself.
I agree with that. If you just joined us, by the way, nice to see you. We've got Tarek, Monica, Tamrat, Salman, Vishal, Jerin, and Haroon. Nice to see you guys there. Debbie, did you want to contribute to this conversation?
Yes, I just wanted to say, Joanne, it's brilliant to have you up here. We have missed you, and it's great to hear that your event was a huge, huge success. Well done.
Thank you, Debbie.
And just to add, yeah, as you said, no man is an island. When you work as a team, you work to help one another. It's a great basis.
That's
the energy is shifting.
Let me get my guitar out. We can sing Kumbaya. That's a beautiful
Yes.
thing. Right, Charito, we've got about half an hour left. Charito, would you like to share with us your thoughts on stuff? And as always, I think I can guess who you're going to thank first. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dave. Aziza, Debbie, Tariq, and everybody down there. I have my friend Tamrat, Platine, Monica, Jennifer, Johan, and Haroon. Good afternoon. I come from the Philippines. I like your topic, Dave, actually.
Good.
Overcoming your topic of overcoming incredible odds. It resonated. Everything that you said really speaks, right smack into what I'm have been doing. How do I overcome the incredible odds in my business? I'm in real estate as a consultant, as a broker, but I have always this in mind that for me, I have goals, but when it is obvious for me that the goals cannot be reached because of these odds, I don't adjust my goals. It stays. I only adjust the actions that I would do. During COVID times, that was an incredible odds for the real estate sector. Nobody buys, nobody sells, nobody was moving. Everybody was afraid. So we cannot get out because we're afraid of COVID. It's something that we can't see. So how do we hurdle that? So what I did during those times, I tried to open my eyes and face the COVID squarely, like it's like an intentional awareness of the present situation. What will I do about it?
Yep.
So, well, my goal as a real estate broker still there, but then it has to install. There is a comma in a sentence and a long sentence. But what will happen to my sales force? I have people under me. Not everybody is earning, with other income. They depended on the income and sales. But what are the income when nobody was buying? Everybody was afraid. So what we did was this, we tackle some of the sales force. You look at COVID. So when people are afraid to die, they're inside the house, but they needed groceries to feed them by, right? They needed the alcohol and the mask, which were all for sale during those times. So these salesmen, sales force, when they have their motorcycles and all that, they bought in bulk like the alcohol and peddle it within their community, within their space. So that's attacking the odds, which was incredible then because we did not know when it will stop and how long will we stay on earth with this kind of disease or you know that COVID thing. So that's overcoming incredible odds for me is the awareness first. So what is it you want really in your business? And then if something happens like this, it's okay to be stalled. It's okay to stop for a while until such time that things become normal or normalized. These things that you cannot see but and I cannot even control. You are dependent to your prayers, to your faith in God, and to the government to help you, to the scientists in order to give all those vaccines, right? So at the moment when we want to live because we have a goal, we wanted to target a huge amount at the end of the year. So that's what we did. That's how we did it. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Really appreciate your contributions as always. And that's a really strong story about faith and also believing in the community around you. Tarek, that's the first time you've joined us on stage. It's good to have you here. Would you like to share your story and your thoughts as well? I see you're executive chef, so right now you're probably cooking. Can I have some?
Hi, good morning, everybody. And good afternoon from Dubai. It's an interesting topic, and I'll say that's the first time for me to be on live and speaking, but uh, somehow it's related to me in so many ways, being in that career for over 40 years and being in UAE for over 34 years. So, by profession, I'm a chef, and I heard everybody, but I would like to take the quote from Dave when he said, we don't compare. I'm not going to make it long, but uh, we're spending that time in that sector of hospitality or being a chef. So you come across a lot of daily challenging, especially who's better than who and who does better than how. But I learned something very important, either for myself and when I look at the others, especially being on one of those, what you call them, identifying talent or saying what you're good at. And again, I will quote David and I will quote the other person who said, believe in yourself is, I learned it in my journey, it's focus and positive. It's staying positive. Never compare or never look who is better than me in what you're good at, what you're good to do or what you're good to deliver. Focus on that and continue on that, and believe it or not, those vibes will bring people around you and will bring you something you maybe were not very talented at, but you will improve at it. And through that journey, staying with positive vibe or focusing what you can achieve, it will make the journey very easy when you have your doubts, when you have your falling down. Uh, Maybe it sounds very uh, not out of the topic, but we had a recently, it's few months ago, a few cooking contests,
Mm-hmm.
and there was two young chefs. Uh, I was wondering why their head chefs insisting for them to cook something they never cooked for their entire life, and it's not related to them. So somehow I persuaded them, and I told them, okay, we're going to do what he cooked at, which is Chinese, but we're going to present it on that. How amazing it is when those two kids or two young chefs, each one of them come back again with gold medals.
Wow.
And I realized it's always focus in what you can do. Don't worry what the other person does. And when I was watching the Olympics this year, I realized that each individual from no nationality, but each individual, he has a technicality or a technique which it make him by himself or herself a unique in her ways. Uh, we're very beautiful to be with you all. Good afternoon and good morning if you're being in England or everywhere. And really nice. And I hope I just somehow helped somebody through those very little words from an old man.
I love that. I love it, Tarek. Thank you so much. I hope to see you at In Flavor if that's possible. I'll just sign up to work with In Flavor in Riyadh in about a month or so's time.
That will be. I'm in Dubai actually, David. I'm United Arab Emirates.
Yeah, I know. So I'm in Murdiff,
yeah,
mate.
I'm at the Dubai World Trade Center. Actually, that's where I work for.
Right, I know. I've been in Dubai 30 years. I'm just telling you that if you go into In Flavor, I'm going to be doing that gig as well. I've worked with a lot of chefs.
Yes. Oh, yes. Definitely.
I hosted at Gulf Food a couple of years ago, and one of the things I've got to say is the chef world is incredibly competitive with massive egos between everybody in it. And the reason it's so competitive with massive egos is the job you do is so challenging. You have to make food perfect every time in the shortest possible amount of time and run a team so they all contribute. It's incredible. It's like being a military officer. So I think that the odds that you go up against of everybody really does help you to raise your game. So I appreciate you joining us on the call and sharing some insights on that.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much, and good to see everybody. Hopefully, we'll see you again. Thank you. And it's I'm very happy you brought that topic today, Dave, because it's very important for us what we've been challenged and how much do we. Sometimes we say to ourselves, yeah, it's a PS. Everybody's saying, you don't know, I'm not in your shoes. You're not in my shoes. Just focus on what you can do. Believe me, you will change. Just focus. If you know how to read, just focus on reading. If you know how to knit, it will change your character a lot. And that from somebody who went through a lot of downs, but I bounced back. And I bounced back very well. And that's where I stand today in the morning. I'm talking to all of you. Feel free to. I'm not promoting myself, but.
No, I'm going to jump in, Tarek, because we're going to get a lot of people to go through. I really appreciate you sharing that as well. Thank you so much. And I look forward
that was brilliant.
to the future as well, which is really good. Deb, so you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, no, that I thought I loved the fact that Charito came up with her completely different logic on how to apply to an obstacle. There's always a way to get out of your comfort zone, and there's always results. And then Tariq, who then came up and has told us how he's faced adversity, but he's come through victorious to be standing where he is today and sharing his wealth of knowledge. So thank you both for coming up. Enjoyable.
Yeah, fantastic. I really appreciate that. It's brilliant and great to have Eric joining us there as well. We're going to have Vishal on in a second, but what I want to talk about just before we go on to Vishal is what we're sharing with everybody here are basically templates, cool stories, ideas for support, things that might help you on your journey. Your journey is a one-person journey, and that's what life's really all about, but it doesn't have to be brutal. Some days it's easy, some days it's not. And I often say it's like the Truman Show. If you've ever seen that movie with Jim Carrey from maybe 30 years ago, where he wakes up and is inside a reality TV show but doesn't know it, and everyone in it is an actor, all contributing to what's the ratings of a show. And sometimes life feels like that, but the great thing about it is treat it like it's episodic. So every day there's a brand new episode of the You Show. What's going to happen in it? What's the script written? How are you going to get by? What makes life interesting is not success stories, it's how they got there. It's not enough to be born with a silver spoon in your mouth and be rich or be poor or be good looking. It's what you do with it that matters. And so that's a journey, that's the adventure. And even the terrible stuff that you might have gone through is all part of your learning curve. So I want to share that with everybody, just in case you're having a difficult time. Vishal, over to you. How are you today, Vishal?
Oh, hi, Dave. I wasn't expecting to come on, to be honest.
Well, if you stick your hand up and say, I want to go on stage, what's going to happen, isn't it?
So I'm just sat here with the kids, to be honest. So I was just listening in. So you might hear them in the background. But yeah, I joined a bit late, so I didn't even know. Didn't know what to prepare, to be honest with you, Dave. But yeah, just the background about myself. So basically been in recruitment for about 14 years and then got made redundant due to COVID in 2020. And then basically decided to set up on my own. Obviously, I had a 1-year-old and mortgage and stuff like that. So it was a tough time in 2020 for most people who ever got made redundant, and tough times, for people in general. But yeah, luckily, I managed to do really well. And, my clients, I built up all the relationships with the clients anyway. And, they weren't really bothered which company I work for, because I'm the one that built the relationships with the CEOs and MDs. So
let me ask you a question, Vishal. Sorry to jump in there. I'm going to ask you. Here's a really powerful thing you mentioned there. Nobody cares. They're all thinking, what's in it for me? And your CEOs don't care what your background is, none of that stuff. They just want some trust and credibility to prove that you're the right person to work with. But what are you going to be able to do for me is what's going through their head. So wherever people's story is and whatever you've been through and you want to share with that, that's great. But the ultimate thing is, what are you going to do next? So what did you do next? What information would you share or experience that you share that got you back on track again that people will be able to take and start using for the future?
Yeah, I think for myself, it was obviously I built the relationships up with the clients, and actually I had a good track record with them, so they knew that I could deliver. With when they started to recruit again, so obviously they came back to myself, and I think just going back to what the chef guy said there, basically Tarek basically is, just keep positive, keep going. And, I think in the end, as long as you're positive and resilient, that you can build long lasting, real relationships as well. So clients and candidates, especially candidates, I suppose, a lot of my candidates have been clients, even though I've not placed them in their current roles, but they've become hiring managers in other companies. But because I dealt with them in a nice manner and updated them when I needed to, they really like that of me dealing with them as a candidate. And then when they became hiring managers, they like, oh, Vish, we want to work with you because you treated me so well as a candidate.
So it's important as you go along to remember that you're on a journey. You have good days, bad days, but what you share with people is what they're going to be remembering you for. And so that's one of the reasons why, for me personally, I'm sure it's true for many people as well, don't necessarily have to post bad days, but you can post honest days and transparency days. And if you've built up enough goodwill with people, they'll reach out to support you because they know kind of where your journey is. And I think that's the important thing about it. I mean, if all you do is take from people, then they're going to step away when you're on the ground. But if you put in stuff into emotional bank accounts, people will be there to support you later on.
Yeah, and I think just being real and honest with people as well. Obviously recruitment, probably like chefs, there's good and bad, people in every industry. And recruitment obviously is so competitive. So, you have to stand out with your own personality and experience. But obviously I've done it for 14 years now. And, it's about working with the right people as well. The same companies that I've rejected, just because, like the CEO doesn't speak nicely or they swear at you and stuff like that. And you think, well, are they going to be the type of company you want to place candidates with if they're swearing at you and, saying rude things, so it works on both ways, doesn't it?
Definitely. And Vishal, I'll just say that we're going to be working together on the Industry Icon program very soon as well. So I'm very excited about that, to know more about your journey, and also what we're going to share with people in the future. So I appreciate you jumping onto the podcast. We've got literally about 12 minutes left. If somebody wants to join us on stage and share their thoughts and ideas, then you're very welcome to do that too, because this is really all about what we need to do to be able to raise our game and be able to get more. When we talk about unsurmountable odds, I mean, we talk about the challenges that we go through. The beautiful thing about it is every single person, it's relative to them. Not just the fact that your journey is relative, but for everybody, whether you're rich or poor, a good day or a bad day, is really the way that you perceive it. But one of the things I learned during the pandemic, when things became really tight for us on a financial level, on an emotional level, because I naturally go out and do big gigs, I don't really knock about with people separately. And so when it became that I wasn't going out to any gigs and meeting people, I didn't really have any friends I could reach out to, which is one of the reasons that I created this particular podcast, to get everyone to join us on a Sunday and just help. And that's why we've got our Turbo group as well. If you want to join us, the details within the section on the comment section, the details section. We'd love to have you come and join us. Now, I think Debbie's got something that you want to add to this. Debs?
Well, there were 2 points that I want to bring in. I wanted to thank Vishal for what he just said. I loved when he said no one cares, because the reality is our journeys are our own. So it gets to a point that you have to shut out the rest of the world and just zone in on what is good for you. And what is good for you may not be what was the level below. It could be the level above, which then takes me to my next point. On every level, no matter what level you're at, there is always another way to level up. There is always another way that you can level up, and there's more experiences that you will see and more opportunities when you do level up.
That's true. And also with that, just extending that particular theme, one, depending on your belief system, well, it doesn't really depend on your belief system. It just depends on your belief system as to what you're going to experience until the end of your days. But our life is about getting as many challenges and basically enjoying the journey as much as you possibly can. And one of the things that I learned during the pandemic is the fact that if you can feed your family and you can eat 3 times a day and you can get access to the internet and you can breathe properly, and if you want to, you can go and get a little bit of exercise and maybe treat yourself, that's 99% of what happiness will bring to you, that connection and that belief and that experience. You don't need to do it plated in gold. You don't need to do it at the top restaurant on the planet. And you certainly don't need to do it with everyone turning around and saying, you're the best, you're the best. So if you take those factors out, which are part of what we do with capitalism, I'm not knocking capitalism, I think it's a great thing, but we often believe that the only way we can qualify ourselves is to get the response from other people saying how good we are. But if you can tick off the boxes of what makes you happy in your own skin, then maybe that's what you need to do for the rest of your life. And you don't need to do it at a really high level. You just need to do it at a level that works for you. So when you start looking at incredible odds and unstoppable success, who needs unstoppable success? The whole point is, how much better is it to overcome a challenge and get a result than having no challenges and everyone sees you as incredibly successful? It's all about you enjoying what you have in your experiences. And they don't have to be better than everybody else's. They just have to be right for you. So I hope that, if anything, you are able to say that tough days are great because they teach you something, and everything will teach you something, even if it's a really difficult and challenging lesson. Otherwise, life would be really boring. Imagine if you were born a millionaire, and some people in the group probably were born millionaires. If you're born with unlimited funds, and so you don't care about anything, how would you be able to prove to yourself or to anybody else that you've achieved anything in your life? Whereas if you've made something for yourself and you've had a level of success that makes you happy, then maybe that person is generally happier on a daily basis than another person. It's all about you, and you set the challenges. And here's the thing, and one thing I've learned from having worked as a business coach and a life coach for many years, is life throws at you exactly what you're capable of dealing with. Whatever it is, whether it's a disease or it's a challenge or a client that drops out or you lose everything and you have to build it back up again, life throws at you what you are capable of fixing. You just need to ask yourself better questions, and before you know it, you get the answers that you need. Okay, anybody want to throw some comments in the last 5 minutes or so that we got on this group? We try and keep it nice and tight on a Sunday because I know everyone's got other things, in most cases better things to do than listening to me Twitter on. I shouldn't say Twitter, I should say X now. It's called that now. Then feel very free to put your hand up and join us on stage. Otherwise, I'm going to throw it to Aziza and Debbie as to what your thoughts are on what we've covered today. We had some really good speakers and some really good insights as well. Joanne's going to join us on stage again. Joanne, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, for me personally, my experience with going back to my event, I identified there were a lot of things that didn't work at my event, but it's not that it was wrong. Like, it's a completely different way of thinking about it. It's not that it was wrong, it just wasn't effective. But now I'm excited because I know how to do it better for the next event. So that's a game changer for me personally. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's life's learning curve. It's all about it's not what happens now, it's what you learn from it as you go. And one of the things that makes somebody successful, and I don't know if people are aware of the idea of grit. You can Google it. There's a book on it. I've done a number of different posts on it. You can find it on YouTube when I talk about it at length. The one factor that goes all the way through the most successful people in their lives is never, well, how they're trained or how rich they are, how good looking they are, how connected they are, how good they are at sports or any of that stuff. It's their ability to just keep going and learning and sticking at it. That will get you to where you need to be more successfully than any of the other metrics that people would discuss and share at you. So whoever you are and whatever you're doing, have faith in yourself. Just keep going and you will be fine. Leslie Flowers, how are you?
I'm wonderful, David. I only wanted to add that what you're talking about is the 8th principle of success, which is persistence, in Napoleon Hill's #2 bestseller of all time.
There you go.
And the basis of most all millionaires over the last 100 years, persistence. Without it, you will never be a success if you cannot discipline yourself to stay focused. And that's all I wanted to share.
That's great. Thank you very much for sharing it. It's very true. It's persistence, and it's also making smart decisions. I mean, sometimes there's ways of making it happen faster, which is working with people who've already done it before. Now, it also means don't waste. I mean, what was it? When I was talking about Ryan Reynolds at the beginning of today's session, I talked about his story about getting Deadpool off the ground, and one of the insights that he came to was he realized that in Hollywood the superhero movies were just starting to take off, money was being thrown at them, audiences were starting to love it, and he realized that the industry that he was in, the particular genre, was rom-coms. So he'd done movies with Sandra Bullock and people like that, and he realized that less and less people were interested in that, more people were interested in superhero movies. So he pivoted and changed and moved into a different genre. There's nothing wrong with looking at what you're doing and saying, actually, maybe I'm not doing the right thing, I should do it for something else. Looking at trends, looking at what's growing, looking at other things. One of the things I'll share with the group as well, there's a famous ice hockey player called Wayne Gretzky, who was famous, I don't know if he's still there, as the most successful scorer of goals in the ice hockey industry. And when he was interviewed about why he managed to score so many goals, he turned around and said, well, when I'm watching what goes on with the game, I'm not looking at where the ball is or the puck is in this particular case. I'm looking at where it's going to go next, and that's where I go to be able to score so many goals. He also said that it's not that he scores so many, he also takes more shots than anybody else. Just like Michael Jordan, he misses more times than most people, but because he learns and he grows and he gets better at doing it, he just ends up with more scores. And when he doesn't score, he goes, okay, next, and moves on to the next part of his journey. So it's worthwhile thinking about that as what you're doing. When everybody's thinking about, how do I move on? How do I get over this hurdle? You just do. It's about getting your mind, your head in the right game, and also trusting that your journey isn't finished by whatever you're dealing with right now. Your journey finishes when your journey ends, and that's at the end of life. Until then, your adventure keeps continuing. So be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up over bad things that you've done. You often can't change them because you haven't got a time machine. But what you can do is change the way that you feel about it. If you've done something that's bad for other people, you can apologize. Sometimes they don't take it, but you can learn and never do it again. Do something more positive, or put some time into helping people, which is what we do with this particular podcast every Sunday. Even when I was in the UK, we still turned up at the same time. And however many people are in the room, you're always welcome to contribute and learn something and get something from this particular session. I will say as well, before we finish, if you're interested in learning more about becoming a keynote speaker, in our WhatsApp group, we have a new challenge, our 5-day challenge group. We'll be doing how to become a paid keynote speaker is going to be the challenge coming up in this coming week. If you haven't joined our WhatsApp group, then now's the time to do so. Make sure that you look into our section on the details of this post, and it's got a bit about WhatsApp. Please feel free to drop that in and join us. I'll have a look at all the profiles, and I let in people who look like they're human beings and not spammers and not some covert group of people who just spam everybody or trying to sell their insurance. But if you're actually genuinely wanting to join our group, you're very welcome to. We're probably going to start it on Tuesday, the challenge, so there's enough time for you to join us today. The links are there. And for those of you who are in the group, then it's very, very good to have you here as well. Okay, we're just about to finish. And so with that, I'm going to throw it at Aziza and Debbie for your thoughts on today's session and any advice you'd like to give towards our group. If anybody's got more comments to do, one thing I will say as well, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear your comments in the comments section, because that's really useful for us, especially if today's session has been useful for you. That means more people are going to want to join us for the next session, and it keeps the conversations always lively, and I appreciate it more than you could ever believe. Also, if you're in the Turbo group, then that's on WhatsApp. Tell people what they're missing, so more of those people come in. I don't spend all this time sharing ideas, and we just carry on watching Netflix. So over to you and to Debbie and Aziza. What's your thoughts on today's session? Any insights you'd like to share? Nothing. Silence.
Sorry, I have two screens on, just putting the right one on. Today's session was very interesting. A lot of people brought up a lot of very, very good points that you shouldn't blame yourself. Never compare. This is what we teach our 13-year-old. Don't compare yourself with another person. Compare yourself with who you are yesterday, so that you can be better tomorrow. Also, if you have if whatever your idea doesn't work, that's where the AI comes in. So you chat with your own ChatGPT, your personal ChatGPT AI, and go, right, this idea didn't work. This is what happened. This is what I did. What went wrong? And then also, if you have another idea, share it out to the list. See which one gets the most interaction, and that's the one that will work, because you already have people who will be already buying your product or investing in your idea. That's how you lessen the odds, I would say, and be more successful in the future. That's me. See you next week.
Love it. Okay, Debbie, for you, last words on today's session.
I don't know how I can match that. But yeah, brilliant session. I love the fact that everybody came in with their different concepts, their different ideas of what a challenge is and how they would face it. I would say yes, if it is a challenge that you feel AI can answer, then use that as a tool. But on a more spiritual side, perhaps think about meditating a little bit more, looking within and making sure that you are calm and at peace with whatever situation you're going through at the time, so that you can see solutions and opportunities that you wouldn't ordinarily see when you're feeling overwhelmed. That would be my input.
I agree with that. And also give yourself the day and time to be upset. Don't punish yourself that it didn't work. And then if you can't, when you are calm, even if you can't see because you're so emotionally attached to the project, to the idea, get a third person, get somebody who has the helicopter view on it. Talk to the person to see, to list down what were the steps that you did and work backwards. And
100%,
then see
yeah.
what was the steps that it wasn't right, so do a better one next time.
Yeah, use all the resources that you have available to you. Don't feel that you're limited just to one, but always make sure and maintain the fact that your mind is at peace with whatever stage of the game that you are at. Don't do things that make you too uncomfortable. Get slightly uncomfortable at times, but make sure that you are rational.
I love it.
Yeah. And now it's 2:00. I can cook for lunch. I'm starving.
Wow. Well, just when Aziza says it's 2:00, we've all got to go, because that's how it works in my house. So one thing I'll say to you as a kind of like end of play today is, if you're having a really bad day and everything's not working, and the more you do, the more it seems to go wrong, just sign it off as a crappy day. Just leave it. Do something that makes you happy for the rest of the day and start again tomorrow, if you can. Sometimes you have to kind of muck in which case just disassociate yourself from everything but just going through the motions until you got the job done. If you're having a bad day, you still got to look after the kids, you're still got to do the pickup from school, all those things. You don't have to give it your best shot. I mean, you have to pick up your kids, but you do have to make sure that certain things get done. You can try again tomorrow, and you might say, oh, but Dave, it's a one-off chance. Well, that's why the school system is so rubbish, because it forces you to do exams on one day, and if you fail, then for the rest of your life, you're rubbish. But that's not true for life. You get a good day and a bad day, and the rest of life, when you leave school, you can carry on just seeing what works and what doesn't work. And that's true for everything. So I have faith in you that regardless of whether you think that it's a terrible situation you're in, you can find ways to deal with it, or you can deal with it in a way that allows you to feel better during the time and the challenges that you have there. So we could open this up longer. We're not going to, but we'll have a related topic for this time next week. Thank you very much for coming out to play. I really do value this. And I will be sharing, if it's recorded properly, today's recording on YouTube. If you're part of our WhatsApp group, I'll share it with you there. I'll also drop the link into what we're doing here on the post in the comment section. And if you missed anything and you arrived late, then you'll be able to catch up with that. Or you'll turn up earlier next week. That's me having a little dig. Meanwhile, on behalf of myself and Aziza and Debbie and Joanne and Vishal and Tarek and Leslie and Chirito and others who jumped on stage then got bored and left, thank you very much for coming out to play. I'll see you same time next week. We've got another broadcast on Tuesday, but meanwhile, look after yourself and remember, jump and grow wings on the way down. Thank you, and take it easy. Bye-bye.